Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Patrice, and this is my Embellish Life. You guys, I am so late to this game. When I tell you I'm late, I'm talking about the bus have already left the station and is cruising along the highway, and I'm just there running to catch the bus. So about a month ago, there was the this or that sewing edition challenge that was going on, and I was actually tagged by another fellow YouTuber, and I completely missed it. I missed it, guys. So, and I felt so bad that, I was tagged and I completely missed it. So, I'm here to make up for it. So, this is my addition to the This or That Challenge Sewing Edition. So, if that's something you want to hear, let's get in it. So, for those of you who may not be aware, the This or That Challenge was introduced to YouTube by Julie of Created Coffee. I love Julie. I love her channel as well. She makes me smile. And it was just a series of questions pertaining to, your sewing habits and certain likes and dislikes pertaining to sewing. And as the challenge went on, different people were tagged and, they did their videos as well. So I was tagged by Osset of Stitched Treasures. I love Osset as well. She has such a calm and soothing voice, unlike me over here, who's always laughing like a hyena. But anyway, I was tagged by Osset, and I completely missed her video until a few days ago. And you guys, I felt like such a heel because that was over a month ago, and only now I'm seeing the video. So I'm here to make up for it. Hence why I'm running behind the bus because the bus, this or that bus left the station about a month ago, and now I'm here running behind of it. Anyway, here is my addition to the this or that challenge. So let's have at it. So the this or that challenge has four categories, and each category has a list of questions that is pertaining to that category. So the categories are sewing prep, fabrics, clothing construction, and the last one is sewing habits. And I have my trusty book here, my trusty notebook, so I wouldn't forget anything. So the first question on the sewing preparation is buying new versus stash busting, and that is pertaining to fabrics. I love buying fabrics. I do. But I am not in an area where I can. There's not a fabric district where I live, and my fabric store is limited in the fabric that they offer. So therefore, I do a lot of online shopping. So a lot of the time, there's no instant gratification for me, which hence leads me to do a lot of stash busting, even though I have a sizable amount of fabric, because when I do buy online, I buy online. I could tell you. So I do have that is how I procure a lot of my fabrics. So yeah, so I do a lot of stash busting, even though I would like to just walk up in the store and purchase. The second question is PDF versus paper patterns. I do use both. Definitely use both. And if you are a returning viewer, you know that I use both PDF and paper patterns. But I do prefer paper patterns. The thing that I loathe about PDF, and you guys know this, is putting the pieces together. I mean, that issue can be easily rectified by using a projector or even getting it print on the A0 paper. I think it's A0, the A0 paper. So you can actually eliminate that step. But for the most part, because I don't have a projector at home, so that part is eliminated. And I'm not going to get it print on the A0 paper, even though I can. So that leaves me with putting the pieces together, which I absolutely hate. That is the only thing that I hate about PDF patterns. But other than that, I use both paper and PDF. And if the truth be told, I would lean more towards the paper patterns because of that one thing with PDF of putting the pieces together. The third question is cutting versus tracing patterns. I do both actually. Um, for my paper patterns, I do trace them out to an extent, meaning most of my adjustments happen in the top region of my body. So I would trace out, the top portion, the bodice portions, and usually the bottom part, I would just cut it out like that. So I do use a combination of both. In terms of the PDF pattern, I just cut it out, do my adjustments and cut it out on the paper because I can always reprint it. So I do use a combination of both of them. The other question is muslin versus going for it. I don't do muslin, guys. I don't. Even though I know I should, I don't. I think I like living on the edge where I just go for it. After I do my adjustments on the pattern, I lay it out on my fabric and I'm down to town. So muslins, no, I don't do it, even though I know the importance of it. So we are on to the second category, which is fabrics. Yes, I love fabrics. You love fabric. We all love fabric. So the first question is in-store versus online shopping. I do both, but I would say 90% of my shopping is online shopping, and that is because of the situation that I'm in. I would prefer, honestly, to walk into the fabric store and get all of my fabric because I want that instant gratification. But like I said previously, my fabric store, even though they do bring in beautiful fabric, it is limited. So I do have to resort to getting a lot of my fabric online. So I do both. I do online shopping and I do in-store shopping. The second one is knits versus woven. You guys know this. Woven. Woven all the way. Um, I'm trying to be friends with knit fabric. You guys know I did a video earlier this year about a major failure that I had using knit fabric with I think the pattern was from Ellie and Mac. Is it the Sunday pattern or the Monday morning pattern? One of them. And I was so disappointed. I'm trying to be friends with knit fabric. It's how should I put it? It's a rough relationship. And that is one of my goals this year, actually, to use more knit fabric, to become more acquainted with knit fabric. But somehow I'm just failing miserably on that aspect. It's woven all the way for me. You guys know I love cotton fabric the best. So woven over knit. Third question, tumble dry versus hang to dry. I live in the Caribbean. So I do have a clothesline outside, but I'm a sinner. I'm a sinner because I rely heavily on tumble dry. I tumble drying my clothes. I do. I admit it. When I prepare my fabric, I put it in a wash and then put it in the washing machine, and then it goes straight into the dryer. When I'm washing my clothes, it's the same thing from the washing machine into the dryer. Every now and again, I do put them on the line to dry, but for the most part, I do use my dryer. The last question in this category is rotary cutter versus scissors. Rotary cutter. I rely heavily on my rotary cutter when I'm cutting out my patterns and the fabric. I use my scissors for smaller things, but when it comes to that initial preparation part, my rotary cutter all the way. So on to clothing construction. And the first question is following instructions versus winging it. Um, for the most part, I tend to follow the instructions. I wouldn't say I follow them to a T. I don't. I might start off following them, and then at some point I will go rogue and just wing it. But for the purpose of doing like pattern reviews for my channel, I tend to, try to see what the instructions are saying. So at least I can give you guys an idea of the readability of the instructions and all of that. But for me personally, I tend to walk on the borderline between the two of winging it and following the instructions. So the second question is bias tape versus facing. Bias tape. Bias tape all the way. Now, don't get me wrong. Facings can elevate your garment to another level once you do it properly. For the most part, I just like the convenience of using the bias tape. And I realize more and more if I can eliminate the facings. Let's say if I'm making a dress that requires the neck facing, if I can just insert the lining and then do the understitch to eliminate that. Lately, I find myself doing that as well. So it's bias tape for me over here. The next question is serge seams versus French seams. I prefer French seams. I definitely prefer French seams. For me, even though I own a serger, I don't use it often. I prefer the look of other seaming techniques. Um, I use French seams. I like the use of bias tape as well. I do use bias tape to give my seams that neat finish, depending on the type of garment that I'm doing. I also use um, there's the folding over method. I also use that method, and then I will top stitch it down to secure it. I think this um, outer robe that I'm wearing, I think it's actually done with that folding over technique. So yeah, I do own a serger. Yes, I do, and I use it every now and again. But I must admit that I do gravitate to other seaming techniques before I go to my serger. The next question is button fly versus zipper fly. I don't like either. I don't. I don't like inserting zippers, even though I do have to. I do it because I have to. I don't enjoy it. And I really don't like doing buttonholes as well. I don't. Those are the two things that I loathe doing sewing: inserting the zipper and doing buttonholes. So for trousers, if you can give me an elastic and a tie, I will run with it. But now because I'm doing like my professional wear and a lot of the professional office wear trousers, they do come with the zipper fly. I think I have to sit down now and actually fine tune my technique for it. But as of now, right now, ahora, neither. The other question is hand sewn buttons versus machine sewing buttons. Even though I don't like sewing, doing the buttonholes, I don't mind doing the buttons themselves. So if the garment has three up to three buttons, I'll just do it by hands. If it's more than that, let's say if it's a dress that the front of it is all buttons coming down, I'll do it on the machine. So it just depends on how many buttons I have to attach. That would determine if I'm doing it by hand or by machine. The other question is fusible interfacing versus sew-in interfacing. I prefer fusible interfacing just for the convenience of it, but I do own sew-in interfacing as a backup. So if I run out of the fusible and I'm not running into the store to get any, there's a sew-in as a backup. But it's fusible for me. I do prefer the fusible. The other question is snip as you go versus all as one at once. I am that person. I snip threads as I go. I don't like to see excess threads hanging off of my project. So I definitely snip threads as I go. The final question in this category is press as you go versus all as once. One of the first things that I learned when I started garment sewing, and I started garment sewing when I was about maybe 11, 12 years old as part of sewing in school, in high school. One of the first things that they learn, I've been taught, is always press as you go. Pressing is an integral part of the outcome of your garment. If you wait until everything is pieced together and then you decide to press, that is so dicey. That is very dicey. Press as you go. And I've also transferred that habit into quilting as well. You press your seams as you go. Make sure they're in place. Make sure that your dots and everything that you're using, your tailor's ham, to make sure you get the curvature and the structure that you need. People press as you go. Thank me later for it. Now, the final category pertains to sewing habits. And the first question is late night sewist versus daytime sewist. I'm a night person. So it's not uncommon for me to sew throughout the night. I definitely prefer it. I don't have anything against daytime sewing. If I have to, I do it. If I have the time, I do it. I don't mind. But definitely I am a nighttime sewist. I prefer the daylight hours to be dedicated to my other crafts. So I definitely prefer to knit and crochet during the daytime, or even doing my beading, my jewelry making and design. I prefer to do those during the day. But nighttime is all about me and my machine and my fabric. Yes, so definitely I am a nighttime sewist. The other question is slow and steady versus frantic. I don't think I'm a frantic sewer. I am definitely slow and steady. I've mentioned before that I am a slow sewist, and that is because for the sake of preserving my joint health, I do have to take breaks between my sewing. And so it takes a longer time for me to produce the end product. Plus, I rarely use my serger. So doing those other seams techniques, they do take time as well. So I would say slow and steady. So the final question is tidy as you go or clean, one big cleanup at the end. Um, for me, I try to at least at the end of every sewing session to at least sweep the floor, and that is to catch any threads that have fell on the floor, or even pins and needles that I have missed and they went on the floor, because I don't want them getting up in my heels or even my dogs. I don't want to hurt them as well. So I tend to sweep the floor. Plus, I wear a lot of socks. And I don't like having all of these threads hanging off of my socks that they attracted while I'm walking about. So at least I tend to try to sweep up the floor after each session. Now, after I've finished sewing the garment, if I'm not going to do another garment right away, then I will put away all of the notions and the equipment and all the tools that I've been using for that particular garment. My sewing machine is always out on the table. I don't pack away my sewing machine, but everything that was pertaining to making that garment, I make sure that I put it away. So my cutting boards, my rotary cutters, my sewing kits, all of that, I tend to put it out of the way for the time being until I'm ready for it again. So I would say I am on the borderline between both of them. Yeah. And there you have it, guys. My addition to the This or That Sewing Challenge. I think I've finally caught up now. I think I am. I think the bus driver took pity on me as he saw me running in his rearview mirror, and he decided to stop the bus and let me on. Thank you so much, Julie, for creating this or introducing this challenge to YouTube. And thank you, Osset, for tagging me. I did enjoy myself making this video, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram, where you can keep up with my other crafting shenanigans. Yes! I hope you have a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Think lovely thoughts. Keep on smiling. And always remember to make beautiful and wonderful things. All right, lovies, I'm out of here. Bye.